7 scary NFL stories you won't believe are true. Before we start, I'd want you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Big Hit Central. They also have plenty of time to get into trouble and embarrass themselves. In fact, NFL players often have the time and resources needed to get them into more trouble than most. The combination of intensity and wealth that drives them can also sometimes lead them to participating in incidents the rest of us would never think to get into. Here's some of the crazy stories in the NFL you won't believe. Number 1. Jalen Ramsey's trash talk. Over the summer, the magazine GQ sat down with Jaguars cornerback Jalen Ramsey to discuss with him his game and his strong opinions about everyone. It delved into everything, from who he thought was an excellent quarterback to who he believed to be trash or overrated. A few names came up when discussing the topic of interest, from praising the likes of Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins, and Blake Bortles, to panning others such as Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh Allen, and Matt Ryan, to name a few. He's been no stranger to trash talking before either. He's found himself in spots that have gotten him into trouble because of his mouth, like the verbal jabbing between him and Steve Smith, to the time he was chokeslammed by AJ Green during a game. The former Seminole loves to run his mouth. However, his comments have put him under a microscope over the quarterbacks he's talked about, most notably with Josh Allen, who he played against last year. The Bills came away with the win after Allen's game, and Ramsey refused to retract his comments about calling the rookie trash, but did acknowledge that he did enough to get the team the win. Another instance is with his play from the previous 2 seasons and this year. Last year, Ramsey was the 3rd best cornerback, according to PFF, with an overall grade of 91.8. However, this year he's gone below that with a 74.4 and ranking as the 24th best cornerback in the NFL.
Really transcended my life to my life is football, my life is grinding, my life is training.
Number 2. Dion pulls a fire alarm to get back into his hotel. Sometimes NFL players are accused of being big children. People say that their path to fame and fortune never really afforded them the opportunity to mature in ways that many adults their age have to. While that certainly doesn't apply to all players, the childlike behavior of certain NFL athletes is responsible for some of the most outlandish off-the-field incidents in league history. For instance, there was the time that Dion and his brother were hanging out at a Hampton Inn when they realized that they were locked out of the building. For some reason, the two got into the idea the best way to gain re-entry was to pull the fire alarm and get someone's attention. In their defense, they got someone's attention. Unfortunately, that someone was the police, who arrested Lewis and his big brother. Number 3. Chase Blackburn injures himself with a cotton swab. Sooner or later, every NFL player needs to accept that injuries are just a part of life. Very few players regularly active have ever managed to get their whole career without suffering some kind of medical setback. The best way they can hope for this is that these injuries aren't too bad. Actually, the best they can hope for is that the injuries aren't caused by something painfully stupid. Just ask Chase Blackburn, who was injured in the locker room one day by a most bizarre culprit. Apparently, Blackburn was cleaning his ear out with a cotton swab when he bumped into a reporter and accidentally jammed the swab into his ear. Blackburn fell to the floor in pain and apparently almost ruptured his eardrum. Come on, man, you've got to be smarter than that. Number 4. Joe Theismann injury. Injuries are quite common in the NFL. After all, the sport itself is very violent. Not often do you see an injury as Joe Theismann's was. It was a 1985 divisional matchup between the Washington Redskins and the New York Giants. At the time, Lawrence Taylor was forming and establishing himself as the most feared and dominating defenders in the NFL. Theismann found out why. Ball snapped, quarterback hands the ball to the running back. It's a trick play. Flea flicker, quarterback gets the ball back, but Taylor wasn't being fooled by it whatsoever. He proceeded to sack the QB. Number 5. Michael Floyd blamed a failed breathalyzer on kombucha tea. After he was allowed to pick up a ring with the New England Patriots despite being cut earlier in the season by the Cardinals for being arrested for an extreme DUI, receiver Michael Floyd joined the Minnesota Vikings in the offseason. Sure, there was still the matter of this house arrest. That would all be cleared up by the start of the 2017 season. Except he violated the terms of said house arrest when he failed 3 self-administered breathalyzer tests and slept through a 4th in early June after he said watching movies with teammate Kyle Rudolph and drinking kombucha tea. Number 6. Punter meets Antonia Brown's cleat. Things get intense during a divisional matchup in the NFL, and this 2014 Cleveland-Pittsburgh clash was no different. Antonia Brown is on the uprise as being one of the best receivers in the NFL, using a combination of sharp route running, sure hands, speed, and agility. He also returned punts. On one of the punts in the game, he fielded the punt on his own 28-yard and proceeded to make moves in an attempt to score. After a few nice moves, he looked like he was going to put 6 on the board for his team, but then the Cleveland punter came into play. Lanning, who was the punter for the Cleveland, wasn't going to let that happen, and that's when Antonia Brown decided it was his best interest to transform into Jared Butler in the movie 300 and Spartan King Lanning right in the helmet. Unfortunately, Brown's cleat was caught, and thus ending Brown's chances of scoring. Bizarre nonetheless. Number 7. Jason PierrePaul and CJ Wilson play with fireworks and lose fingers. In terms of simply embarrassing incidents, these two are just so wonderfully absurd and oddly similar that they have to be grouped together. Actually, it seems that fate wanted these two things to be forever grouped together, as they even happened on the exact same day. It's probably not not a coincidence that the day was July 4th, 2015. On that day, New York Giants player PierrePaul and Tampa Bay Buccaneer CJ Wilson were having a little fun with fireworks, as many people in America were that day. Unfortunately, both individuals joined the sad list of people who didn't exercise caution around these explosives and ended up suffering debilitating injuries.
Man, life is a blessing. Well, I feel like, after my incident, it really made me realize that football is not here forever.
This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.